So I've been wanting to move over to Windows for a while now because I've been using macOS from way back in the day when it was OS X Leopard and they actually came on physical CDs, if you remember what those things are. At the time, I was kind of fed up of using Windows. It was not what it is today. My dad actually got an entry-level MacBook Pro at the time, which he was gonna use for himself. But he didn't like macOS at the time, so he kind of ended up passing it on to me, and I totally fell in love with macOS X. I love the multi-touch gestures, the multiple desktops, the dock, the spring-loaded folders, just everything about the Mac just felt so kind of advanced and futuristic and was leagues above what I think it was Windows Vista at the time was doing. I mean, anything's above what Windows Vista was doing at the time. Yeah. Over the years, yes, Apple has changed quite a good amount in macOS. I mean, they changed the name from OS X to macOS for starters. In OS X Yosemite, they totally changed the look of macOS and basically gave it a bit of a facelift while keeping the underlying functionality the same. They added mission control in Lion, and they added a system-wide dark mode, which I totally love. I love dark mode. They added that in Mojave. But at its core, macOS has kind of always been the same thing, while Windows has continued to innovate and add a lot of really great features and yeah, get up to the stage where macOS is, and I think at this point is kind of starting to overtake it. Now Windows has what basically is mission control, but with recent folders underneath too, which is a nice little added bonus. It also has multi-touch gestures with, especially on the XPS 15, a great trackpad that just feels like you're doing gestures on the Mac really. And while it doesn't natively support Quick Look, there is a great little app in the Windows Store that basically emulates Quick Look. And shout out to Sarah Dici for mentioning that in one of her videos. It's literally one of the features that made me confident that I can move over to Windows. So thanks to Sarah Dici for that. But yeah, basically at this stage, Windows has improved on everything that I used to hate about it. And that's with some little things too. For example, printers aren't a pain to set up anymore. Bluetooth works a lot better. It was terrible in the past. And updates don't feel like they're forced down your throat anymore. You've got a lot more granular control over updates nowadays. And as I said, Windows now has some features that I think make it better than macOS. For example, when you change in the volume, there's these nice little controls that show up that let you play and pause a video, as well as skip forward, skip back, or play or pause a song too. And yeah, in Notification Center, there's the quick actions too, which are really handy there. It makes me actually use Notification Center, which I don't really do on the Mac. There's also a way to hide icons on the taskbar too on Windows, which you cannot natively do on macOS without the use of something like Bartender. But on the other hand though, I do miss some things about macOS, like not having to ever deal with drivers, even though drivers have gotten a lot better on Windows. And stuff like the spring-loaded folders, as I mentioned before, and the fact that animations were a lot more smooth on macOS. And one thing that really annoyed me at first, but I've gotten a bit more used to now, is the fact that you can't move desktops on Windows. Why they don't do this, I don't know. It seems like a basic feature. But honestly, other than that, there's just not really that much that I really miss from macOS. I am totally fine with being on Windows now, and I don't miss it half as much as I think I would have done if I left macOS a lot earlier on. I think it also helped too that I didn't really get entangled in the ecosystem. I haven't got an Apple Watch, I haven't got an Apple iPhone. I've got an iPad, but I don't really use it that often. So I never really use the features that, you know, share things between devices and stuff like that. But the thing is, I've even seen creators who do have iPhones and things like that still say that they were happy with their move over to Windows. So I think it's kind of a widespread thing that people are just getting a bit tired of macOS, and I know I certainly was one of those people. And the thing with macOS 2 is it's not just the software, you have to think about the hardware too, because they're so closely interconnected. And the thing is, when people ask which MacBook Pro I have, I always say the last good MacBook Pro. The MacBook Pros after the 2015 one, just there's nothing about them that really appeals to me. I mean, I know for a fact if I only had to deal with USB-C cables, it would probably make me go mental. I don't like dealing with dongles at all. I like being able to just take an SD card out of my camera, what I'm recording on now, and I love to be able to just plug it in and, you know, take it out, and I'd have to be wanting to go and find a dongle every single time I want to plug in an SD card, or even worse, every time I want to just plug in a USB stick or something like that. of a hard drive. It kind of seems crazy to me that they still think that they should just have USB-C in their laptops. But yeah, there's even the other things like the keyboard apparently not being that good and the trackpad being huge, which I don't think I'd like a trackpad that big. And I know I'd never use the touch bar and would just get pretty annoyed by having a screen there instead of keys. To me, it just looks like the MacBook Pro line at the moment is a bit of a mess, and I have no desire to get anywhere close to that lineup at the moment. And thankfully, at the same time, the Windows line was starting to mature and grow too, and get a lot better. So nowadays, there are some incredible Windows laptops. At first, it was my friend who got a gaming Windows laptop, and that Windows laptop's really nice. It's built really well. It's got really nice internals, really nice hardware, sturdy looking, good quality hardware. And yeah, for what Windows laptops used to be, it's a major jump ahead. And then there's my own laptop that I got, the Dell XPS 15, which I totally love. It's other than it being a fingerprint magnet, it's got a great build quality, and it's just got a build quality that you would have only really kind of associated with Macs in the past. Macs used to have hardware that was just top of its class, nobody was up there. Windows was doing a lot of stuff with plastic and just stuff that looked cheap, and if it was going to do a gaming laptop, it would be like these huge laptops. I know Macs don't do gaming, but yeah. And yeah, it's just amazing how the tables have totally switched, and now it's gone from me, loving the Windows laptops to not having any interest in the Mac laptops at all, when it used to be the total opposite of that. So yeah, by the time I got to the end of my time with the MacBook Pro, I was really, really ready to get rid of it. The thing is, I just found that Mac handles some things weirdly too. For example, when the laptop's going to switch back on, you have to have it plugged in for what seems like 10 minutes or something like that before it actually gets to the point where it does want to switch back on again if it ran out of battery. And there's also the fact that if you incorrectly eject an extract drive and plug it back in, macOS will kind of run this thing in the background where it doesn't want to show the hard drive because it wants to repair it. But that process takes like an hour. I'm pretty sure it took like an hour the time that I let it do it. And yeah, it has no indication that it's actually doing that. It just seems weird how Mac handles some things sometimes. I don't know. And again, that's ironic because it used to be the other way around again too. I used to say that every time I went over to Windows to do something or other, it would always find a reason to annoy me. But now, when I think about Windows compared to Mac, there's a lot of things on the Mac that work in weird ways and find a way to annoy me, whereas Windows handles them a lot better. So unfortunately, I think the tables are really turning on the Mac. Apple seems to just not be caring too much about macOS. I mean, like, the most recent update was negligible at best.
Now, when you plug in your phone, this is what you see. Nothing.
And I just haven't really gotten that excited about a new version of macOS in a while now, to be honest. So yeah, in a nutshell, my experience of moving over from macOS to Windows was fully painless. I don't really miss macOS that much at all. To say that I've been using that as my main system for like the past 10 years. I feel like Windows is actually handling things a lot better than macOS did. I mean, I can't really say for newer Macs, but at least for the Mac that I had. And yeah, it doesn't have some of those same kind of issues that macOS for some reason has. I would really love to see Apple really put some care back into their Macs, just totally rethink their MacBook Pro line and just get it back to where it was before. I mean, there's no way they're going to be adding in ports again, but yeah, it seems like it's just going to be downhill for Macs now, unfortunately. And looking at the lineup now, I don't see myself going back to macOS anytime soon. I think I'll be sticking with Windows for a long time. What do you think about the whole Windows versus Mac stuff, and do you think that Windows is overtaking macOS? Do you think that macOS is getting old now, if Apple should improve it, or do you think that it's good and they should keep it the same because, people know where stuff is and all of that, and you don't want another case of, with Windows 8 where everything was changed and stuff and people weren't happy? Do you think it's because of that why Apple isn't changing anything? Be sure to let me know your thoughts down in the comment section down below. Be sure to subscribe to see more videos like this one. So yeah, I hope you all have a great day. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.